So first off, shout out to my Outcast lapel pins that I got in yesterday. I'm very happy about those. Um, I just wanted to do something real quick. After I read that article from Very Smart Brothers of Damon Young. So somebody in the group one day, the Black Guy Tips group, mentioned to me one day how they appreciated how been able to harness vulnerability as a strength. Um, which I didn't think about at the time, never really struck a chord with me, but like I realized that kind of was what I was going for all along. Um, like I've always been a person who's kind of worn his emotions on his sleeve, and like through my journey as a psychologist and going through college, and then of course my marriage and its issues and failings, um, you learn more and more about your shortcomings and learn to kind of grasp the shortcomings and look at your experiences that you've gone through in your life and be able to put them in more better perspective where you can actually articulate to people like, hey, I've been through some things that it makes it more difficult to kind of react to these certain situations. Of course, it doesn't hurt that I'm a therapist, so I've had a lot of time to think about this stuff. But um, working as a therapist now, um, I feel like a certain like sense of responsibility for the little young black kids that I'm having on my caseload now. I got like three different little kids on young black men on my caseload, and I feel like a certain responsibility to them in particular. Not that I don't feel that way to all of my kids, but to my male clients, and especially my young black male clients, I feel a certain responsibility to kind of teach them how to navigate life without relying on toxic masculinity, how to be able to be open and vulnerable, to allow yourself to be vulnerable enough, not so that somebody else can come hurt you again, but to be vulnerable enough to know where you're falling short because of the pain you've experienced, where you feel insecure at, uh, where you know you've been damaged, and be able to express to the people around you that you've been damaged and not act in violence. Because if you are surrounded by constant hyper and toxic masculinity that preaches and teaches that anger or aggression or violence or shutting down of women or other people is how you operate in the world as a man, that you've gone through personal trauma in your life, makes it even more difficult for you to operate as you get older. You're never going to be able to fully heal the abuse or the failings of your parents, whether it be through abuse or drug use or uh, violence in the home. If you're unwilling to be vulnerable, you'll get to the point when you get older where you will not be able to express yourself without anger or violence being the only means. You won't seek out somebody like me who could help you. You won't find things enjoyable like go to brunch and it be absolutely normal things, or wear the color pink. Shout out to Bret Hart. Uh, Fellas, we got to do better. We got to do better. The women that, especially the black women that carry are the backbones and pretty much the lifeblood and carry our community. The LGBTQ people who are fighting to maintain their rights and their dignities, the way that they live and how that they can live and stand in their own truth wholeheartedly without having to hide or cower in fear of a man who will freak out and panic because he might have had a confrontation with a trans woman, or he might have had a conversation with a gay dude where he might have shared a bathroom with him or high-fived him and found out he was gay and thinks he's going to catch the gay and lose his mind. We got to do better. And if by starting to do better means taking the time to seek out mental health and take care of your mental health, we're not going to hurt you guys. Us therapists, we're not going to hurt you. We, us good therapists, the ones who wholeheartedly give their best to their clients, we love doing what we do. It's taxing. It takes a lot out of us, but it's rewarding when we see you progress and we see you make those changes. And me, as a man who has been through his share of ups and downs, psychologically, personally, professionally, relationships wise, as a teenager, whatever it was, being able to come to terms with those insecurities, to be able to come to terms with those feelings of that can be raw and that can leave you in a state of feeling weak or feeling vulnerable. To feel vulnerable is not a bad thing. It means that you are open to express how you feel and express what you've been through, and you're open to allow for change. You're open to allow for growth. You're open to allow for sexual pleasure, whether it's receiving or giving. You're open to experience things that you never thought you'd do. You're open to going on a road trip with your boys, going to watch a basketball game, or going fishing with your boys. Hell, going to see Infinity War, and then you and your best friend, who are both fathers, crying at the end of the movie because of damn Spider-Man. Sorry, Rick. That hurt, man. It still hurts. None of this stuff makes you weak. It makes you a fully fleshed out, realized, actualized person. Fellas, we're not robots. I swear to God, I used to think my dad was a machine. And I'll never forget the day that I saw my dad cry for the first time. I didn't know how to react. I was a teenager. I was like 17 years old, and he was worried that I was going to squander my gifts and not realize my potential. I'd never seen my dad cry other than when my great-grandfather died. And I was like 4 when that happened. I'm like 17 years old. That's like the first time I saw my dad like openly weep, and I did not know how to respond to it. I ask Naura all the time, is it weird that daddy is so affectionate towards you, that I'm open to dialogue and express what I'm feeling to you? And she says, no, it seems normal. It's just, that's who you are. Fellas, we need to be more like that. I ain't perfect. God knows I'm not. I've been through my share of things. I made my mistakes, my fair share of mistakes, especially while I was still married. But I feel like I've done my work to try to grow as a man. And I know my work will never be complete, whether that's professionally as a therapist or as a man going forward, as a father, as a potential husband again, or a potential mate for somebody, you know, as time goes on. We got to do more work than we're doing, guys. And not just to put food on the table, but to be nurturers, to be supportive, to be educated, to push for excellence, not just on the basketball court or whatever, but to push our kids to excel in education, to push them to be therapists. We could use more black therapists, especially black male therapists. We could use more of us out here in the field. It'd be beneficial for the young black kids, especially the young black boys that are struggling right now, who need somebody to help them kind of piece together their life, whether it's battling through drug use, or through their first psychotic break, or through feeling like they have to watch over their parent because of drug issues or domestic violence or neglect, whatever it is. We need to be there for these kids. Okay? Didn't realize I was going to talk that long. It just struck a chord with me, and I just felt like I needed to get it out. I like my pens. Go Bucks. We got to do better, fellas.